Welcome to Sunday morning worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh for May 2nd, 2021. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming and inclusive religion, not static, but dynamic. Our speaker this morning is Reverend Dr. Kate Walker. Reverend Kate is our candidate for settled minister, for whom we will vote following this service. I am Mary Dennison, a longtime member of the First Unitarian Church and a member of the Ministerial Search Committee. As a search committee member, we went through over 20 applicants' ministerial records submitted to our committee. From the moment I first saw Reverend Kate's ministerial record in her application to First Unitarian Church, I felt that a great gift was being offered to our congregation. One I hope that you all feel as well. As many of you have become aware during the past week, we are supremely lucky to have Reverend Kate as our candidate for settled ministry. Reverend Kate is a minister of distinction in the Unitarian Universalist community. She comes to us from Mount Vernon Unitarian Church in Virginia, a church that has larger membership than ours and one that has maintained its church attendance. Kate is known for her exceptional professionalism, strong dedication to intellectual and spiritual growth, and her engaging personality. She has a way of listening and communicating that values all the members in the conversation. One of her congregants described her this way: she's a team builder who takes time to know and understand each person's gifts and brings out the best in them. I am here today to encourage you to join us at the special congregational meeting at noon today to vote on calling Reverend Dr. Kate Walker as our new settled minister. We need a quorum of at least 107 members, 40% of our church members, to participate by either submitting an electric ballot personally or by an authorized proxy or by their absentee ballots, which we've already gotten a few. According to our church bylaws, an affirmative vote by 90% or more of those voting is required to call a settled minister. The Zoom link for the meeting this afternoon was sent via email yesterday, May 1st, to all members eligible to vote. In fact, the link to vote was sent out this morning. Let's start the next step in our church's future. Please take time to join us and vote today. This morning, in our service, our musicians are Director of Instrumental Music, Ellen Gozian, and guitarist, Danny Rechtenwald. Commissioned lay minister, Stephanie Pulowski, will act as liturgist. We are receiving technical support today from Emily Sweeney and Andrew Papali. Whoever you are, and wherever you are, we are glad that you're here with us this morning. Welcome.
Let this flame be an invitation into a space of radical, inclusive love. Let this spark charge you to seek the path of dismantling injustice wherever it has woven into the fabric of life. May you all know that you are welcome here and celebrated with love. Words for our call to worship from Martha Valentine called Waiting. Martha is a woman a Latinx, and a Unitarian Universalist minister. Step into the center, come in from the margins. I will hold you here. Don't look back or around. Feel my arms, the world, the water is rising. I will hold you as you tremble. I will warm you. Don't look out or away. Life is in here between you and me. In this tiny space where I end and you begin, hope lives. In this precious tiny space, no words need be whispered to tell us who we are. You and I, we make the circle. And if we choose, come and step inside. I am waiting for you. Come and step inside. I am waiting for you.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I may know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope's hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I may know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope's hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I may know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope's hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I may know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope's hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Come and hear a story with me, for I need to change your mind. My name is Gwendola. I'm an ancient dragon, and this is a story that happened long ago, and it may have happened yesterday, for it's a story that we learn from each and every day. I have before me a circle of some of the world's greatest dragon athletes. They are incredible gymnasts, creating feats of acrobatic moves in the sky for all to bear witness and entertain us. But one day, we discovered we needed to break our circle. And we begin today with the amazing feat coming from, oh my gosh, we gotta get all set up here. Amazing feat from Fierro! Yay! From Fierro! Fierro is going to demonstrate the deep dive rocket ship maneuver. Getting ready, deep tuck straight down into the earth, flip back off the earth, fading hard like a rocket ship. Yes! Everybody's impressed. Brilliant acrobatic moves. And next up, we have Zame. Now, Zame always has at least 3 opinions about everything. And Zame gets ready for that same deep dive rocket ship maneuver, but we're gonna do it with a half twist into the tuck, straight down into the earth, off, and then a twist at the end. Fantastic, we're all so impressed. Lots of wings flapping in applause. Next up, we have the amazing, slick Ruji. Ruji comes straight from China. Come on, Ruji, you can do it. Going into the tuck, straight down, off the side with a full half twist and a fiery burst ready to singe all the ears of the dragons. Whew, absolutely exhausting. And then, as we start to go on to the next one, we hear this loud, kind of shrieking sound. Out of nowhere is a flying pig going into the perfect deep dive rocket ship with a full twist and a yell. Whoa, what is this? Greenback is stunned but has no moment to even say, what? A giant flying pig in our circle of dragons? I don't think so. No dragons, right? No. Pink says no. I'm the only pink dragon around here. There's no pink pigs. We can't have that. Okay, folks, you just pretend you never saw that pink pig come in. No way. You just move on. All right, Spark. Come on, Whimsy. Time to practice your rolls and your tumbles. Spark and Whimsy start to practice their tumbles and their rolls, but they're having a terrible time today. They're getting really dizzy and they're off balance and nothing is coordinating quite right, and they're getting really frustrated when they hear this voice from the side. You need to shift your weight back. You're too far forward. And they do that. Keep your eye on the horizon and you won't get dizzy. And that did it. Oh my gosh. Now flap your wings a little bit more as you come out of your roll. Excellent, excellent. Get the head down into the tuck. Excellent, excellent. Yay! Turns out pink pigs are really good teachers. And they go on and on, all these wonderful lessons from the pink pig. Finally, exhausted, Spark says, hey, what's your name? You're amazing. I'm Henrietta. Nice to meet you. Well, I'm Spark. I'm over here. I'm Whimsy. Thank you for teaching us. Can you join our circle? We'd love to have you. No way, says Greenback. No way. We don't have pink pigs. We're dragons. But look, says Spark. She has wings. So what? No, she has to be a dragon, spitting fire and all that. Can you spit fire? I don't think so. No. But I don't, oh, that's so sad. And that's when I, Gwendola, finally spoke up and interrupted this whole scene. Oh, Henrietta, we're sorry. We were rude. It's time, folks, that we open up and break our circle. Yes, we've been a circle of wings of dragons for too long. It's time. There are winged creatures all over this planet. They have things to teach us, and maybe we can teach them a few things too. We're gonna break open our circle. Yeah, all right, everybody move over. We're breaking up on our circle, and we're gonna create a giant U. Yeah, we're gonna create a giant U for Universal Wings of Love. Yeah, a whole new group. Hey, wait, so can I start practicing the deep dive rocket ship now? No, says Greenback, back down, you. Oh, I'll teach you later, says Henrietta. I'll teach you later. And that's the lesson we learned today. Closed circles, it's hard to invite people in. See you later.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. We remember those who are experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for all. If you or someone you know in the church community has a temporary financial need that might be helped through the Minister's Benevolence Fund, known as Marion's Purse, please contact Reverend Connie Grant. May we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us continue to care for one another and ourselves in all the ways we can. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken. Let us take a moment to be quiet together.
May our hearts and minds come together in this moment where we find ourselves holding both joy and sorrow, where we find ourselves stretched with fear and companionship, when we find ourselves wanting to celebrate beauty even amongst the incredible injustice in our world. May the spirit of justice guide us with our words and our deeds as we remember all those who are struggling and dying in India and in so many other countries due to inequity. May our hearts and minds find ourselves expanding so that we can find a way to a life of liberation for all. May we find that our bodies are filled with the spirit of the earth, rejuvenating with the spring in the air. May we find ourselves in alignment with the planets themselves, grounding us again and again in the strength of love and in the endurance of history and the beauty of all life evolving around us. For this is the source of life and love as we create liberation and justice for all. For all of the joys and the sorrows that remain silent within the sanctuary of our hearts, may you know that you do not go on this path alone. We hold each other now in beauty and love and affirmation. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Just as we are supported and sustained by this religious community, we support and sustain this church through our financial contributions, as well as through our participation. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations can be made online through the church website or by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions. The reading this morning is by Aisha Hauser, a cisgender person of color, ethnically Egyptian, and professional Unitarian Universalist religious educator. Holy disruption. Some days it feels like it's just too much. Some days I want to hide and shut it all out. Some days I want to channel the ancestors who fought for liberation and the right just to exist. Every day, I want to know when to speak up and disrupt injustice, even in the seemingly insignificant moments. Each moment is significant. Each day, an opportunity arises when we can bear witness and choose to disrupt injustice. Spirit of life, Give us the courage and wisdom to become holy disruptors and truth tellers when called upon. Grant us the humility to know that this is a practice, and when we make mistakes, we will try again with love and patience. We are called to the caring and growing of souls, and we are all in this together. As people of faith who affirm the interdependent web of which we are all a part, we are called to become holy disruptors because we are all in this together.
Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Lay down your troubles, your worries and woes. Traveling pilgrim, rest for the night. Traveling pilgrim, rest for the night. Traveling pilgrim, rest for the night. Sup in the safety and warmth of this light. Homeless believer, find here a home. Homeless believer, find here a home. Homeless believer, find here a home. You may be lonely, but never alone. Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Wandering shepherd, wander no more. Lay down your troubles, your worries and woes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to Alan and Danny and Stephanie and Mary, Will and Emily, and thank you to all of the search committee members for an incredible time and experience of getting to know you, getting to love you, and the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. I should probably tell you now, people, I have an affection for disruptors. Those beloved folks who are willing to test the limits of society's cultural expectations. Those expectations, yes, that can maintain order and control. but they can also be crushing for some. And I'm not talking about toxic, mean, bullying, disruptive behavior. No, I'm talking about those who are questioning why. And they do so with a genuine curiosity and a close examination for those who are suffering. I want to learn from, I want to align myself with those who have a remarkable skill at seeing where the lines have been drawn and they have become restrictive rather than protective. I like those who are willing to once in a while break open the circle. So I'm going to tell you about Joan and Lynn. They're a couple in my current church. They are firm but gentle disruptors. They entered my church in 2006, a couple years before I got there. Joan is a retired Navy captain, 29 years in the service. Lynn, she was a retired librarian from the Library of Congress and former member of a monastery, as in a nun. These two women have been life partners for many, many years, but they were completely hidden because of Joan's military career. As Joan would explain it to me, if she just dropped the wrong pronoun in explaining what she was going to be doing for her weekend events to a colleague or her boss, and Joan's career could be over with the wrong pronoun. They managed their lives as best they could, hidden behind a tall wall from full view until September 11th. On that day, the world changed. As it did for Joan and Lynn, their lives changed. See, Joan was at a meeting that day right in the Pentagon. And she had just stepped out of the door to wait for a shuttle. And thinking about who knows what, when the plane hit the Pentagon on the side of the building where she had just been meeting. 3 minutes saved Joan's life. One of her colleagues died in that moment. And in that terror and in the fire and the rubble, as Joan realized that she was alive, she realized that had she died, that no one would know to call her beloved Lynn. No one would know because Lynn's name was not on any official documentation for the family notification. Lynn was hidden. Joan soon retired, and she and Lynn shifted to a full public life. And they went looking for a church that would be welcoming to a lesbian couple. Joan grew up Congregationalist, and Lynn, a former nun. They were a little stumped, but with some research and recommendations from friends, they found themselves at Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. And they quickly learned how welcoming they would be for a community that was wide open for the doors for anyone in the LGBTQ community. But then Joan began to have another worry. With this liberal religious faith, as she was getting to know it, would she be welcomed as a former retired military officer? And Lynn was worried, would she be welcomed as a Christian? And they have reason to be concerned. Unitarian Universalists have known up until the early 21st century to be anti-military and somewhat anti-Christian. It's in our DNA. But fortunately for all of us, these two disruptors, Joan and Lynn, were welcomed with full embrace, including by several active duty and retired military and former Catholics who totally understood Lynn's theological story. They no longer needed to be hidden for any part of their complex identities. We like to say that Lynn and Joan were welcomed into the circle of love and community. And with the full support of the backing of Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, Joan and Lynn soon became national leaders within the Unitarian Universalist Association and then the country in order to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They got an action of immediate witness passed at General Assembly for the Unitarian Universalist Association, and they began meeting with the Joint Chiefs and with congressmen and senators, and they appeared on MSNBC and CNN. I had the privilege and the honor of officiating at their wedding in D.C., and when it was finally legal to recognize and celebrate their love. And to everyone's surprise and delight, that same week, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, which was also the same week as Joan's 60th birthday party. And let me tell you, we had one heck of a party, which included film crews from MSNBC and CNN. Joan and Lyd told me they could not have done this without the support of their church. It's so amazing what happens when we welcome people with new energy and ideas into our circle of love and community. They bring surprising creativity and energy, and they remind us about the expansiveness of the universe, and they can challenge our expectations and our comfort. Many are disruptors simply by virtue of who they are. The circle of love and community, it's a lovely phrase. It warms our hearts and providing a beautiful metaphor for inclusivity. The circle is a powerful image, used extensively as a religious symbol of inclusivity and love for all, including God's love for those who believe. You know, at weddings, it's one of my favorite rituals that I get to lead as an officiant. And for the ring exchange, I talk about the circle of the rings with words about the circle of life. Rings like the circling of the earth wrapping around the sun, and the beauty of love bound in a circle, unbroken. In our Unitarian Universalist faith, our chalice has often been shown with two overlapping circles, with the images of Unitarian Universalism when we merged back in the 60s. I've often heard people ask, what is at the center of our faith, as if we were a circle with a theological substance at the center. Well, I quipped back at them, well, it's an empty creative force at our center, where we meet with love and compassion as we pursue justice and liberation. Yeah, but few have been satisfied with that answer. They want, I think, something that's more declarative and something, well, that's more concrete, a statement, a creed, or the seventh principles. I think that's an honest desire, and it's about our desire for forming an identity. Well, that's a sermon for another day, an important sermon to have. But even the Unitarian Universalist Association, just a year ago, published a book, Widening the Circle, by the Commission on Institutional Change. Widening the Circle. It's an incredibly important book that I really recommend. You could get it at the uua.org bookstore. And I totally understand the Commission's choice of the image of the circle. It's a powerful vision of radical inclusivity. Yet lately, I have grown increasingly uncomfortable with the metaphor of the circle. By definition, a circle is closed. Even if you keep widening the circle, it's still closed. So what happens if we break the circle? So let me tell you about Christian. He arrived at Mount Vernon Unitarian Church with his girlfriend Carolyn several years ago. Christian he's shy, and he is of Christian faith. He's Filipino heritage, born and raised in Hawaii. At the time, he worked at a bookstore, didn't have a college degree. And he sat at the edges, attending worship mostly because Carolyn was singing in the choir. He listened, and he hung out with the other emerging young adults, and they connected, and he learned to trust. He slowly emerged from his hidden spot in the back of the chapel. And then one day, I went and sat next to him as the choir was rehearsing, and I asked him, "Are you ready to join the church?" We talked some more. And then he signed the book. And I was delighted to marry Christian and Carolyn just a couple years ago behind our church in our beautiful boxwood garden. Christian, I'm delighted to say, this summer is joining our board of trustees. He is no longer needing to stay shy in the back of the chapel. He's being recognized for his leadership and commitment to our community. By virtue of who he is, he's disrupting our assumptions, our culture, and our comfort. For a circle to be broken, the people who make the circle need to check our cultural expectations for who is allowed in, and a few disruptors may need to speak up when that circle has become too exclusive. If we Unitarian Universalists are going to become radically inclusive, we need to check all of our cultural expectations on who should be, who can be, who wants to be, who needs to be a Unitarian Universalist. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard people, visitors, come in and say, well, I'm looking for like-minded people. I know what they're saying. They want people with similar values. They want somebody who thinks like them, and they want a place where they can fully be who they want to be. I understand that completely. It's a core part of my ministry. Just check last week's sermon. But what happens when our search for authenticity becomes a house of mirrors? We only seek others who look like us, think like us, act like us, believe like us. You see, in a circle, we're more likely to see our own self-image staring back at us. And I don't know about you, that sounds really dull and boring to me. We need a different metaphor than the circle. We need a metaphor that is a radical inclusion and holds healthy boundaries. And by healthy boundaries, and this is so important, I mean expectations for language and behavior that is not harmful. And if harm is caused, intentional or not, a path needs to be provided toward accountability and restorative justice. We need a metaphor that is as complex as we human beings are. And such a metaphor calls for a paradigm shift in how we look at the world, a shift in the world view. It needs to be multidimensional, allowing for the gifts of individuality and accountability for our impact upon others. So, the good news, the search for the better metaphor, it was short, didn't have to look far at all. It's our seventh principle. The interdependent web is a stunning metaphor. Respect for the interdependent web of all of the existence of which we are a part. If we're grounded in the seventh principle, it requires a responsibility to, accountability to be in relationship with, to be profoundly connected to the intimate fabric of existence. And it must include a path for restorative justice, because we can never just break it off as if we're no longer in relationship. Now, I'm going to stretch your mind just a little bit more, particularly for my beloved fellow secular humanists. I'm going to stretch it because I think we need to include the fourth dimension. A fourth dimension, yeah. I'm inviting the abstract, the transcendent experience of the spiritual, religious journey, for those aha moments when we have an insight, a breakthrough time past our pattern thinking, for those life experiences that defy our reasoned explanations, that push us past the limits of our little brains. So let's go fourth dimension. And if you're still asking what is at the center of our Unitarian Universalist faith, I have a new answer, and it's tension. And I really believe it's true. It's tension, and that is healthy. After all, we all have different values, ideals, goals, dreams, histories, identities, desires, and needs. The interdependent web is the perfect image of the multiple tensions tugging at each other. The interdependent images of a complex, rich, a fluctuating ecosystem is the best model for an ever-changing community in which we are always a part. The hardest lesson to learn, though, is that we must continue to realize that we're always in conflict and tension to some degree, even though we don't currently have any real comfort or skill set in doing so. We can and we must learn to engage in this tension and conflict, because that's how we learn. That's how we grow a better world. That's how we grow a more just and liberating and anti-oppression world. I believe we need this paradigm shift now. This is the time for a change in how we look at the world, because there is so much at stake. We must love this earth and each other into life. This is our home. There is no other planet. We need to embrace a vision that all of our differences are welcome, our beautiful awesomeness, our challenges to one another. And this needs to include the interrupters, for they are the ones who will draw us back into relationship, honest relationship with depth and trust. So I want to tell you about one more person, Tyler Coles. Tyler is currently serving as my intern minister, and Tyler is a disruptor simply by being who they are: queer, Black, Southerner, pagan, emerging young adult, raised poor by a single mom, an activist fighting for collective liberation from a marginalized perspective. They were raised disciples of Christ, found Unitarian Universalism as a young adult. And from our first meeting, I recognized Tyler as an embodiment of the future of our Unitarian Universalist faith, complex and rich intersection of identities, ready to challenge the status quo of our individual and our collective comfort. Tyler represents important threads in our interconnected web, where there's pulling and tugging, and there's reconnecting as the web shifts, sometimes breaks, and then reforms with healing and rebuilding of trust and transformative love. I am so thrilled that my church is ordaining Tyler later this month, and Tyler has already been hired and begun working with the Unitarian Universalist Association Southern Region. Folks, the future of our faith is here, and they are ready to disrupt us out of complacency, and I have never been so excited for our faith. Tyler and Joan, and Lynn and Christian and Aisha Hauser and me and you. We are all holy disruptors simply by existing and our willingness to ask why. We are in this together. We are traveling pilgrims, homeless believers, seeking to have a home with one another. So we pick up the threads, we pull for a while, ready to love, affirm, and recognize we are radically interconnected to one another. We are called to the caring and growing of souls, and we are all in this together. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that is within our living is an answer.
As we extinguish this chalice, I offer these words that are being spoken in many Unitarian Universalists across this country, in my home congregation right now at Mount Vernon, and many others. May your hearts feel connected. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry our hearts until we are together again. As you go forward into this world, may you feel connected to this church, First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. May you feel connected to the larger community. May you know that you are part of a vast network of Unitarian Universalists and of humanity and all living creatures. This is the living web of life and creation. May you know that you are part of something incredible. Go forth in love. Return again in peace.